Today, we will talk about a comic artist and film director born in a country that no longer exists, but who has spent his entire professional life in France. His drawing, static in appearance but very vigorous in essence, as well as his masterful command of color, have made him one of the most prominent artists in his field, with works such as Nicopol Trilogy, Legends of Today, and The Hunting Party. Enki Bilal was born in 1951 in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, to a Czech mother who came to Belgrade as a child and a Bosnian Muslim father who had been Joseph Broz Tito's tailor. Belgrade was a city with a depressive atmosphere, where the memories of the war still lingered in the mind of its inhabitants. This situation would not go unnoticed by the young Enki in his future artistic vision. When he was 5 years old, his father managed to take a trip and stay in Paris as a political emigre. Enki and the rest of the family stayed in Yugoslavia. At the age of 7, in a medium-length film whose title, broadly translated, would be Color on the Asphalt, he played the part of an urchin, a graffiti artist, on the pavement of Belgrade. This left a small seed of cinematography that would grow many years later. In 1960, he moved with his family to Paris to be reunited with his father. They settled on the outskirts of the big city, far from the lights and luxuries. He lived surrounded by an aggressive urban environment, with noise from cars and public transportation, street lights at night, people constantly coming and going on the streets. For a child from Eastern Europe, it was a profoundly impressive situation. And while discovering the French language, at the same time, he was discovering comic strips. At the age of 14, he met René Goscinny, who created the Asterix comic book series with illustrator Albert Uderzo. Goscinny's encouragement applied his talent to comics. Years later, Bilal began to study fine art, but he did not spend much time in those studies. He debuted in 1971 in the prestigious magazine Pilot, thanks to a contest for new artists with several short stories where he exhibited his passion for science fiction. In 1975, Bilal began working with the screenwriter Pierre Christine on a series of dark and surreal stories, which resulted in the work entitled Legends of Today. They also collaborated on books such as The Cruise of the Forgotten and The Town That Didn't Exist. Bilal's fascination with the fantastic and Christine's desire for certain political realism resulted in stories set in a terrible bored France with ordinary people into which they introduced extraordinary events. The Black Order Brigade and the Hunting Party inaugurated a new cycle. From English-style fantasy, somewhat gothic in nature, they slide toward hallucinatory fantasy in subtones closer to the films of Luis Buñuel. In 1983, Bilal was asked by film director Alain Resnais to collaborate on a film he was directing, for which Bilal provided painted images. One of the most outstanding works of his career was the Nicopol Trilogy, which took more than a decade to complete. Bilal wrote the script and did the artwork. The final chapter was chosen Book of the Year by the magazine Lia. An amazing cocktail of anxiety, humor, and strangeness, graphics and color reached the height of sophistication. However, since that small role he played in that medium-length film in his native country, Enki Bilal dreamed of making movies. Thus, at the end of the 80s, he directed the film The Bunker Palace Hotel, which was released in 1989. The sets were designed by Bilal himself. The story is about the fall of an imaginary dictatorship. The overthrown ruling classes take refuge in the Bunker Palace Hotel, built for this kind of contingency. A rebel spy infiltrates among them. In 2004, he returned to the director's chair in the film Immortal, an English-language live-action and animated science fiction film in which he co-writing. It is loosely based upon Bilal's comic book The Carnival of Immortals. The plot is set in New York 2095 in a strange pyramid floating in the sky. The ancient Egyptian gods are judging the god Horus in the city. A weeping young woman with blue hair is arrested, though she possesses a great power. A hidden power that even she is unaware of. In 2008, a video game based on the Nicopol Trilogy titled Nicopol's Secret of the Immortals was published by God Game Entertainment. The game is a point-and-click adventure for PC. However, the lead designer was not Bilal himself. His extensive career, filled with great stories, characters, and awards, show us that whether on screen, paper, or in the dialogues coming out of the painted mouths of his tired heroes, Bilal is a true creator of worlds, a visionary as pessimistic as he is dreamy, and a wonderful painter of a chaotic and delirious future worlds.